From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, this is Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Riley Smith. In today's show, Mark visits with Greeneye Technology CEO Nadav Bocher. I talk with Chris Pritchett of Pioneer. And Dustin discusses National Corn Congress with Iowa Corn Growers Association President Mark Mueller. Now here are your hosts, Mark Magnuson and Dustin Huffman.
Well, welcome into another edition of Iowa Ag Matters, and Mark Magnuson with me as well here in the Des Moines studios. And Mark, another day, another little bit of uncertainty in what's going to happen in the markets, a little bit of a mixed bag. Corn and soybeans were trading a little bit higher to start the day. Wheat was a little bit under pressure, especially with everything going on in the Middle East, and no signs of stopping, at least as the way things are shaping up this morning.
Yes, there's going to be a lot to talk about with Joe Camp of Comstock about what's happening in the markets here today, because as you mentioned, Dustin, we started the day and there was some decent green on the screen in the grain side, but now it's looking a little bit more mixed as the morning moves on. And that could be, I think, just personal opinion, going to be the case going forward here for the next few days at least, because there is so much uncertainty. And then also you factor in the US dollar, the value of the dollar is going up. That's generally not the most friendly to the grain side of the marketplace. So I would wonder if that's weighing on things a little bit right now too. There's just a lot of moving parts right now and a lot that we have to sort through. And as a trader right now, I would imagine it's a difficult situation to make a stake, one way or the other, because there is so much unknown about what's happening around the world right now. And of course, that's going to continue as, the military action has not ended. I mean, the strikes are still happening. There's still attacks being made in the Middle East. So there's a lot that's still playing out as we speak.
Yeah, that there is. And of course, the uncertainty ranges for a lot of different things in a lot of different ways. I mean, corn and soybeans are going to feel a little bit of increased pressure. Soy oil is going to drag up the soybean market because of the fact that oil prices are going up because of the uncertainty in the Middle East. It's always what happens when you have any unrest over there. But then you also look at corn. It's going to ride out a little bit more of a wave because of the fact that, the whole Middle Eastern region over to the Black Sea as well, that's all under unrest. And so how much corn is getting out of some of these places between the, of course, situation in Ukraine and now with the rest of the Middle East, is it safe to transport some of this stuff? The wheat complex is going to be looking at this because the Middle East does go through a lot of wheat. They also produce wheat. So how much of that's going to be coming out of there? Fertilizer markets are going to be looking at this because Iran does produce fertilizer. And so where do you find the balance? I mean, everything's getting pulled in different directions because of this uncertainty. And that's something we're going to be playing out with for a long time. But that is what it is. We're going to have to ride it out one way or another. But it's all going to eventually trickle down into the farmers, unfortunately. And that's why situations that we're also watching, like trade and other things, getting markets, getting E15 year round, all of that stuff will make a difference if we can get some of those markets open back up and just create more demand for our products. And of course, that job's being done and that job's being worked on. Of course, we also got word, you can see on Iowa Ag Matters, on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network website, they are starting to think about marking up the farm bill into the House Ag Committee. So there's a little ways to go yet. A lot of things still up in the air, but a lot of it's uncertainty because you just don't know what's going to hit the ground first.
Switching gears a little bit, Dustin, we talked just a little bit on the show yesterday about things we learned at Commodity Classic. Was there anything else that was a takeaway for you from the show?
That was mostly just like I said yesterday, it was a lot of just the uncertainty and how it's affecting farmers, how it's weighing down on them. That's been the biggest thing. But like I said, the optimism is still there. Farmers are the internal optimists. They're always looking forward to growing another crop. They're always looking at what can we do to make it better? How do we get through? I mean, so farmers have always been that way. So that's about the biggest takeaway I really have gotten. Let's go ahead and take a look at those grain markets, find out what's happening in that unrest in the Middle East and how it's affecting things. We're having Joe Camp of Comstock join Mark Magnuson right now.
Joined today by Joe Camp of Comstock for the opening market discussion. Joe, what's happening in the trade in the grains?
We've got some upside money flow into the grains that would fit with this inflation storyline and the uncertainties attached with new war. We have, though, the wheat strength not lasting, down just a touch after the 8:30 restart. We have the outside financial markets really in focus here, especially the stock market. We're looking at Dow Jones futures off more than 1,100 points. So you have that response to what's going on abroad. Also with the metals market showing strong volatility this morning on the downside. the dollar up, and everything's still in reaction mode, not only thinking about what's happened these last several days, but thinking about what could come up next.
Joe, basic economics question for you. Why did the value of the U.S. dollar go up based on the conflict that we're seeing right now?
I think that's general safe haven flows. You have that money coming not just from domestic assets, say funneling into treasuries. When you need treasury bills, you need dollars to buy them, and that's true as well for international consumers of not just the U.S. dollar, but our treasuries. So that's the safe haven type flow that you have for the dollar index. For example, up a whole point this morning. We have that thought that the dollar is usually more negative for commodities because it can make the terms of trade more expensive, less competitive for our exports. So we're watching that. But again, even with the dollar higher, that was a nervous point of Monday. It's not quite the headwind it was with still higher corn and soybean futures.
Joe, as a trader right now, how can you possibly know what to do with your investments and your money? Because, I mean, we think about the trade deals that have happened, quote unquote, recently, and the tariff situation. Now you throw a conflict into it, kind of upends everything, doesn't it?
It does, and that shows the importance of risk management and planning for alternate scenarios. Not that you can predict what happened over the weekend, although in part we were showing different signs of risk premium and thinking about certainly Iran as a new primary subject of input for markets. You can't know exactly what will happen, but you can hedge for different scenarios, both good and bad, both for higher prices and lower prices, and what that means for your position. And you can also have an outlook and incorporate it on volatility and whether or not that's set to continue to rise, and think about how that can be positioned into your strategy.
Your local radio station brings you the local news you depend on. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network complements that with ag news, weather, and market updates tailored for Iowa's farmers. Together, we deliver the best of both worlds, local connection and industry expertise. It's all to keep you connected with the heartbeat of the heartland. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, connecting rural Iowa with the news that matters to you.
Well, Mark had the chance at Commodity Classic as we're here back on Iowa Ag Matters. He visited with the folks at Greeneye Technologies, now in their fourth year of business, talking about their sprayer options, and they've got aftermarket options that allows you to do some target and broadcasting applications. Mark?
Mark Magnuson for the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network here at Commodity Classic 2026. And I'm joined by Nadav Bocher. And Nadav, I know that we've been talking now for several years about Greeneye Technology as a company and your precision spraying. And I think back to, I think it was 2022 when we first spoke here on the network, and it was kind of at that point something that was still being conceptualized in terms of precision spraying. It was something that you had been working on, but it wasn't fully realized yet at that point. We've come a long way since then. Could you tell us about where your company is right now and what that adoption has looked like for customers?
Of course. So thanks for the interview. And exactly like you said, if you go 3-4 years back, precision spraying was kind of a promise that everybody, the industry was waiting for. But I think today what we see, this is not a question of if, we actually see adoption in the market. We've seen a consistent growth within Greeneye. We are available in 12 different states in the U.S. right now. Iowa is one of the key states for us. So we have more and more customers across the state. And I think what's interesting to see is as we approach our fourth commercial season, is now customers are not asking themselves, should I adopt this technology? Is what is the best way of utilizing it and adopting it, right? So I think it's a kind of a different discussion where you had to convince before the technology is real and works. Now that's not the conversation. The conversation is what's the best way to adopt this that fits my operation.
And we know, obviously, that Iowa is one of the major row crop states in the entire country. So at a time with tight margins, farmers are looking for ways to save money. They're trying to be as efficient as possible. That's where precision spraying can play a big part. And you mentioned that the state of Iowa has been one of those states that has really taken this technology and run with it, haven't you?
Yes. I mean, we've seen a lot of traction in Iowa. And I think What we also see is like when we talk to our customers, this is not purely about savings. I mean, I think we are unique because we are by far the most precise precision spraying solution. So typically saving would be 80 to 90%. Now, that's big, but that doesn't tell the full story. I think what we see, and we see from our customers in Iowa as well, is that customers are looking to further increase the benefit from this technology. And that is tapping into maximizing their yields, making sure they're using the strongest, best chemicals now that they spray only 15 or 10% of the field, right? So this is getting the full, value proposition, savings, clean field, maximum yield. And I think it's great. And we see our customers in Iowa utilizing exactly like this with, keep in mind, I want to maximize savings, but I also want to make sure I'm getting a clean field, I'm managing resistance well, and I'm maximizing the yield I can get.
So obviously farmers at a show like this are going to be able to see Greeneye technology up close and personal. Has it been widespread enough throughout the state that farmers are now hearing that word of mouth from their neighbors or other farmers that they know, and the ability to pass on that knowledge that they've gained from using this technology and saying that it could help them?
Absolutely. So like I said, we are available now in 12 different states, and we are growing very, very rapidly. And I think what farmers are seeing, like I said, is this combination of savings and efficacy. And I think what's unique about Greeneye's solution, it's an aftermarket solution. So farmers, especially in this economy, they don't have to go and buy a new equipment. We know how expensive it is. They can retrofit their existing machine, whatever it is, whatever color, brand, model, to a smart, intelligent machine. And I think especially in today's market, we all navigate as an industry a challenging down market environment. The aftermarket approach is highly appreciated by customers.
He is Nadav Bocher with Greeneye Technology, my guest here today in San Antonio, Texas. Thanks so much for the time. Always appreciate it, and have a great rest of the show.
Thanks for having me.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
Time to run down those basis bids here on Iowa Ag Matters on this Tuesday. I'm Dustin Huffman. Not seeing much change at all, except for all the elevators now are on the May corn and soybean contracts, so we'll go ahead and run those down for you. ADM Burlington 15 cents under on corn, $4.36. Soybeans 28 cents under at $11.50. Cargill and Eddyville 24 cents under on corn, cash bid $4.14. New Co-op Algona 41 cents under on corn, $4.10. Soybeans 82 cents under, cash bid $10.96. Ag State Sheldon 29 cents under on corn, $4.22. Soybeans 85 cents under at $10.93. Ag State Elta 40 cents under on corn, cash bid $4.11. Soybeans 80 cents under at $10.98. Five Star Co-op Nashua, the 31 cents under on corn, $4.20. Soybeans 70 cents under, cash bid $11.08. Cargill Cedar Rapids 19 cents under on corn, $4.19. Soybeans 45 cents under at $11.24. Lincoln Way Energy Nevada 24 cents under on corn, cash bid there $4.27. ADM Des Moines 50 cents under on soybeans, their cash price $11.19. New Co-op Red Oak 35 cents under on corn, $4.16. Soybeans 85 cents under at $10.93. Mid-Iowa Cooperative in Green Mountain 46 cents under on corn, cash bid $4.05. Soybeans 85 cents under at $10.93. New Co-op Sheraton 38 cents under on corn, $4.13. Soybeans 85 cents under, $10.93. Walk-On Feed Ranch 45 cents under on corn, cash bid $4.06. Soybeans 75 cents under at $11.03. New Co-op Glidden 39 cents under on corn, $4.12. Soybeans 79 cents under, cash bid $10.99. Innovative Ag Services Farley, they're 44 cents under on corn, $4.07. Soybeans 79 cents under, their cash bid $10.99 as well. And finally, at Cargill and Muscatine, while the river is still closed for the season, they will be reopening for deliveries the week of March the 23rd. Cash corn and soybean bids are subject to change without notice. Always check with your local elevator when making sales to obtain the most recent price. That's been a check of your basis numbers here on Iowa Ag Matters. We'll be right back after this message. Stay with us.
Stay informed with the closing market report from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. Your essential summary of the day's market activities and their impact on the agricultural economy. Join us for timely updates and expert commentary on commodity prices and market trends with trusted ag market analysts from around the Midwest. Tune in every Monday through Friday on your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate for your daily market recap and insights to stay ahead in the ag economy.
Last week at Commodity Classic, of course, a great trade show, but also a lot of meetings taking place, including Corn Congress. Dustin had the chance to catch up with the president of Iowa Corn, Mark Mueller, after Corn Congress to learn about what was discussed and the priorities laid out for 2026.
All right, so we are back with Iowa Corn Growers Association and President Mark Mueller. President Mueller, what did we get out of that Corn Congress meeting? What was the final decisions here?
Well, we received some concerning news about tariff reviews. We have until March 2nd, which is next Monday, to issue comments to the U.S. Trade Representative on fertilizer input tariffs. This we just learned about 5 minutes ago, and it does seem like the fertilizer industry is trying to get something slid in there real fast and giving us very short notice on to respond to that. So National Corn Growers Association and all the various state organizations, their staffs have been alerted to this. I'm pretty sure this is what they're going to be working on nonstop until Monday to allow us to get comments in. Once again, I think this was a very quick move by the fertilizer industry to get something slipped in before we had a chance to comment. We're going to be working on that real quick. As far as some of the issues discussed today, we did review the countervailing duties policy that went through a few days ago, and we decided with further discussion to move that back to the panel. Countervailing duties is something that is a very complicated issue. We decided to refer it back to the committee for further study before we actually came out with a hard and fast policy on it. We've decided to remove tariffs and replace the word tariffs with all available tools when we have policy discussions with the government. The thinking there was if we use the word tariffs, we're kind of like locking ourselves into tariffs and eliminating some other possibilities. So that was one of the issues. There was very vigorous discussion on the 15-year cropping history before land could be allowed for CRP. That was something brought forth by Iowa because of problems down in southern Iowa with investors buying pasture land that cattle have been grazing on, ripping it up for a few years, and then putting it back into CRP for hunting ground, and basically taking it out of the access for cattle from then on, so that a few people can do some hunting on their own private preserves. There was a lot of back and forth discussion on that, and that's gone back to one of the specific committees, the Production and Sustainability Committee, because some states don't want any limits on that. Some of the more notable comments against the 15-year idea came from, I would say, the fringe areas. That's not going to sound very good in Virginia or northern Michigan, but yeah, that's where that came about. We did pass a few issues that were kind of no-brainers. The NAS accuracy modernization, because nobody's happy with the numbers NAS comes out and nobody believes them half the time, but yet they sway the markets by a huge amount. Just think about what happened in January when they found, 1 million more acres than anybody suspected. So we want to have legislation that will force NAS to bring their counting system back up from the 70s. We have satellite imagery now that we didn't have back then. We have many more. We have drones. We have things that can count how many plants are in an acre. Let's take advantage of that technology instead of just relying on farmer surveys that are oftentimes not anywhere in the ballpark even. Other issues, I'd have to say that the mood is still sober. The farm, we're not yet to the next farm crisis, but we're not that far from it. And there's a lot of stress out there. And we had reminders in the meeting there, hey, if you know of a farmer that's really scratching hard or is like in despair, get a hold of them, reach out. Don't wait for them to reach out to you or for them to do something more drastic. We all need to pull together on this. And that was probably the single biggest final message that came out of that room there. Guys, reach out and help your fellow farmers. And if you need help, ask for it. We farmers are we're so wanting to go it alone. That's probably why we're farmers to start with. We like that independence that comes with being your own boss. But, guys, we're facing some pretty stiff economic headwinds here, and we can't all go it alone. So if things are starting to show up on the horizon, deal with it sooner rather than later, whether it's financial or emotional or whatever. We got a rough few years ahead of us. I know that we've been promised trade deals. We hear about those almost daily, but it takes months, if not years, to really accurately negotiate a trade deal. All of us in there are going to do what we can at our state organizations and at our national organizations to get these trade deals moving. But the fact is that you see a trade framework that's announced, that really means nothing until that framework gets filled in. And it doesn't get filled in until people have sat down and hashed over details that oftentimes takes months. I hate to be the bearer of bleak news, but we're going to have some tough roads ahead in agriculture.
Well, President Mueller, I thank you so much for the update and appreciate your time here during the Commodity Classic.
Thank you.
Your local radio station brings you the local news you depend on. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network complements that with ag news, weather, and market updates tailored for Iowa's farmers. Together, we deliver the best of both worlds, local connection and industry expertise. It's all to keep you connected with the heartbeat of the heartland. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, connecting rural Iowa with the news that matters to you.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
This is the Midday Market Update on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Mark Magnuson, joined today by Brian Doherty of Total Farm Marketing. Brian, what's happening with the trade in the grains?
Well, volatile, but if you look at it right now as we talk, not much. May corn down a half a penny. That's at $4.45 1/4. Did hit high today, $4.51 3/4, and so many of the corn contracts reached their highest point either yesterday or today for the calendar year. So corn right now, uneventful. Beans steady to down a penny or two on futures contracts there again. Pretty good push this morning and then a bit of a pullback here. So today's trading range is still within inside yesterday. So big volatility yesterday. Disappointing close in the beans if you were bullish yesterday, down a little bit. And then today unable to hold earlier gains. So that's where beans sit. Wheat 5 to 7 lower in Chicago. Kansas City wheat down about a half to 1 cent on most contracts other than the March, which is up a nickel. But all attention goes to the May now that we're past first notice day. And then other markets, Mark, something to be, very much monitored. Crude oil up $4.30 right now. Another big surge for the second day in a row. And with that, some concern. Stock market down well over 1,000 points at one point, now down about 700. So volatility there. And then we can talk livestock if you'd like a report.
Sure. Let's talk about the livestock side, Brian. What's happening with the livestock sector?
Yeah, so things started out a little negative this morning, now picking up a little steam, up $1.30 in the April contract. Concerns with lower stock market and higher crude oil prices, and a technical correction have weighed on the cattle complex. Yesterday, a pretty rough start to the day, like on the April contract. Finished the session up 87 though, and then today softer again on the start, currently up $1.40. Holding support at the 100-day moving average. Yesterday checked the 200-day moving average and found some buying interest there. So live cattle mostly higher, feeders about $1 higher. Over in the milk market, negative this morning, now turning positive, 19 higher in the nearby March contract, and April milk 7 higher, 17.26. So some green on the screen there with the livestock, and kind of the reverse in the grains. Was green this morning, now a little bit negative.
Farmers, stay on top of your local market with Basis Matters from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. Every day, we bring you the latest corn and soybean cash prices from inland grain elevators and river terminals across Iowa. Get the prices you need to make the best-selling decisions, no matter where you are in the state. Basis Matters connects you to the numbers that matter most to your farm. Tune in every weekday only on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network and make informed grain marketing decisions with Basis Matters.
May corn down 1/4 cent at 4.45 1/2. May soybeans at 11.62 1/4, down 1 3/4. May soybean meal at 3.1260, down 30 cents. May soybean oil at 62.62, down 12. On the Merc, April live cattle up $1.30 at 234.40. March feeder cattle at 358.15, up 88 cents. April lean hogs down 33 cents at 95.25. April pork cutout unchanged at 103.40. That was a check of the midday markets on Iowa Ag Matters. I'm Mark Magnuson.
Well, back on Iowa Ag Matters, and it's time to go back into that livestock marketplace, find out what's happening with those cattle and hogs. And to do that, we're going to be rejoined once again by Joe Camp of Comstock Investments as he sat down with Mark Magnuson to discuss the livestock prices.
What's happening on the livestock side of the trade?
We've got the livestock back lower. I mentioned how sharply under pressure the stock market was, and I think that's the connection we draw with the cattle futures, which otherwise had a really positive turnaround to start the week. They were initially following through lower after Thursday and Friday, down hard to close last week. And then they this week started that way, but then came back higher to meet higher cash. Even though the cash was lower, it was still well elevated next to where the April live cattle has now become the nearby month. And then feeders still maintaining strong discounts as well to the cash, which has been so hot in that market. So thinking about the stock market pressure, some of the speculative liquidation that has the cattle futures lower and also moderately lower hogs to speak of.
And with the hog market right now, what have we seen with movement in terms of the recent time period?
Lately, we have undergone a significant correction, but then charged higher to stop just short of these last contract highs from January mostly. And so now that we're in this pivot point, it's do we break out to new highs, or like we alluded to with the cattle, is it a point of at least short-term turnover? And that's what those seasonal histories would suggest about this time of the year, that we would have some softening. And we think too about consumer demand and what's at play. You think back to the war effect that down the road we can still be talking about livestock and even grains as a food security item.
Joe Camp of Comstock. Head to comstock.com for all the marketing information and resources. Thanks so much for the information. Always appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day.
Thanks. You too.
In rural Iowa, we know you're sold on your local radio station. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network partners with local Iowa stations to deliver the latest in agriculture news, including grain elevator prices, market reports, and ag policy news. Trusted local voices, trusted ag content. This message is brought to you by your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
Well, back on Iowa Ag Matters, and as we're getting ready for that 26 growing season, of course, everybody's taking stock of the lessons they learned in 2025, and boy, were there a lot of them, and a few of them were hard learned. We're talking now with the folks at Pioneer and Riley Smith.
Riley Smith, Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network here at Commodity Classic 2026 in San Antonio, Texas, talking with Chris Pritchett of Pioneer. We're looking at the soy side of things now. As we look back at last year, what was kind of the general, I would say, summary of everything that happened through the crop season with the soybeans?
It was a great year, especially in the state of Iowa. If we think about Pioneer soybean performance, we're super excited to be in year 3 of our Z-Series launch, which was really revolutionary as we brought the next generation of our elite germplasm and genetics to life. So Z-Series has kind of taken the market by storm, especially in Iowa. It gives growers the flexibility to spray the Enlist weed control system and really drive bushels. That's what we're trying to get in each advancement class we bring forward. We advanced 32 new products this year for the 26th season that build on and get even better than what we've already got in market. Last year we saw about a 3.4 bushel per acre advantage over our current lineup. So Pioneer's continuing to evolve, try to partner with a farmer to put more yields in that bin.
And as we look at last year, honestly, a lot of the focus was on the corn side of things, where we saw more of the issues, southern rust, but still soybeans every single year. We've got kind of the same things that come around. We've got soybean cyst nematode, we've got sudden death syndrome, white mold, all these things. So when we look back at last year, how have we been able to handle those with the Pioneer lineup?
You bet. So you hit on the greatest yield robber in soybeans, and that is soybean cyst nematode. Pioneer has spent a lot of time in our breeding efforts to continue to advance those native traits in the bag. So you're getting a lot of SCN protection from our current lineup. We're going to continue to evolve that lineup and bring new varieties that are more tolerant and provide extra help and support. What I would tell you is, as we partner with our Corteva crop protection counterparts, we've got a lot of great chemistries that come in and combat things like white mold, and SDS will always be something that we're focused on.
So then as well, I know with this year, we just had some really nice weather, 60 degrees in February. We almost never see that. And it's funny because we had some farmers mostly jokingly bringing up, it's like, well, let's get the planter out in the field. Well, every year we are trying to push that earlier for that planting date. So when we look at early planting, have we seen any benefits? Have you seen any farmers doing that with the Pioneer lineup? And has there been any, kind of great data to get from that?
Very much so. So growers are certainly pushing the envelope, and I get it. You get about nice weather and people are like, whoa, it's time to go. There are some advantages to earlier planted soybeans. You get more time for vegetative growth, which typically leads to higher yields. It also allows your canopy to close faster. So as that canopy closes, you're reducing weed pressure naturally. So earlier planted soybeans are great, and I think growers are being very thoughtful in when they plant their soybeans, when they plant their corn, not only for planting purposes, but also for harvest, as they're thinking about getting that crop out at the end of the year.
So then as we look ahead to this year, what are some of the things that you want to highlight for producers to really be aware of on that Pioneer lineup?
Hey, we're just going to continue to invest. We hear from you guys each and every day. Hey, you're good today. Our goal is how do we be better? And so we've got an entire team working in R&D to say, hey, where do we need another fit, or where can we replace a product because this one's just better? And so I hope folks are excited about our lineup and our advancements. We're really focused on just continuing to bring innovation to the American farmer, especially in the state of Iowa.
All right, Chris, lots of great information for anyone who isn't able to come to Commodity Classic, would like to learn more. How can they do that?
Yeah, so quick and easy on a phone or a computer is pioneer.com, but I love talking face-to-face, so get with your local Pioneer sales rep or territory manager. We can get you whatever information you're looking for.
All right, Chris, thanks again, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Awesome, so we'll get that.
Awesome, that gets you what you want.
Hi, my name is Ethan Smith, and I've been a certified crop advisor in Iowa for about 6 years. The Iowa CCA program is valuable to me because it helps keep me informed on new topics and research around the industry, including soils, insects, diseases, and much more. It's also a great way to network with others around the state and beyond. Iowa is known for its crops, and that's why we're here. To learn more about becoming a certified crop advisor, visit iowacca.org.
In rural Iowa, you need reliable information. The Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network brings you ag-specific content like market trends, weather outlooks, and policy updates that matter to your operation, while your local station brings you community news and consistent updates on what is happening in your area. It's a partnership built for the challenges of rural life. Your farm, your local station, and your friends at the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, where Iowa Ag matters. Find us online at iowaagnet.com.
Well, Mark, you've been asking me what things stood out the most at Commodity Classic. What's something that you learned that you were kind of interested to take back with you?
Well, it was very evident, Dustin, that companies were well aware of the situation for farmers right now. Of course, very tight margins and where you can potentially save some money on inputs, but at the same time, making sure to highlight those inputs that you can't draw back on, the things that you absolutely need. It was a very apparent theme throughout Commodity Classic is what I took away from this year's show. Thanks for listening to Iowa Ag Matters. We will be back again tomorrow. Thanks to Riley, to Dustin. I'm Mark Magnuson. You've been listening to Iowa Ag Matters.